Hello, everyone, and the goal for today is to discuss the three simple database design through activities. Basically, we just put together what we learned in the previous two modules, but this time doing a more complex design, a more complex problem that will, and as an example, we do together such a database. Now, if you have any question related to the previous modules, you can write them in the chat anytime. If you want to explain them, you can just write in the chat that you want to explain, and I will allow you to share the screen or to speak. So please feel free to let me know if you need help with anything. Today is the last grace period day for D2, so always if you have questions that stop you for advancing, come to these online sessions, and I am happy to help you in any way possible. Now, I don't see anything in the chat, so I'll move on. And the first thing that we need to decide is to pick database specification that will try to model today. And to make things more interesting, I didn't come. I have presentations for several such situations that are already in your course. So I don't plan to redo those or to come up with another one that is already done just to present to you. What I would like us to do is to do together such a new situation, and I will let you helping me decide which this new situation will be. So let me share my screen. And what I would like you to do is to write in the chat one idea of a domain, like fast food or doctor office or school or whatever other type of application. Should I give you some not very exciting ones, but write whatever you would like to do today. So and we'll do that application today. So I will create now a poll based on your suggestions. I'm sure if you don't have suggestions, I will put mine. So pick a domain, and let's put here hospital. Because I got one from the chat. Anybody else? Okay. I am adding, even if nobody is writing to me, I am still adding a few. So you will pick one of a few. University, another one, and let's put. Okay, anybody else? No. So 4 options are good enough. So let's create the poll. And I will activate it for you so you can vote. Right now you can vote. As usual, you go to pollevier.com with my name. You have the address on the screen, and you can pick one of those. So pick anyone, one that you are more interested in. Okay, so let's see. I have people dividing equally. So if one more answer will come, it will be great. So we can have a winner. Okay, so I have right now a winner. So again, these are fast answers. Please do them fast enough. If you need more time to set up, let me know. Just write set up in or wait or something in the chat, and I will always wait for your answer if it's a setup issue. If not, I will move on. So don't feel, you may participate to this online session and don't answer my questions. The only thing is that you cannot get bonus points for participation. So to get bonus points, you need to answer, and then you will be able to get bonus points for coming here and being active in the learning. Okay, so no, right now I'm again in 50-50. So I have two. Let me see how many people answer. Probably not all of you, but who knows? Maybe all of you. Yeah, I have two options, and I will make this visible. So it's either hospital or fast food. If one of the people if you can vote on something else, if you voted on university or car dealer, change your vote to one of the first two. So I think you can change your vote from what I remember. If not, we'll do. Okay, so fast food it is. Got first to 50. So, okay. So let's pick a fast food. And now, which is your preferred fast food chain? So we'll go to the right chain after this. So again, I will do a pick. So write in the chat, fast food chain that you really like. And we'll pick one, and then we'll go to that website and we'll try to do a database for their website. So that's the idea. I just want to go to something that clearly was not prepared. I wanted to see how you approach a new problem, a problem about you don't have prior knowledge. So, and this is the goal of this simple database design. It's for you to be capable, for instance, look at the website and imagine how you will create a database that will feed information to that website. So again, please write in the chat fast food chains. And again, I will write a few. If you don't help me, Domino, Chick-fil-A, KFC, a lot of, we are not enough for so many. Okay, you can stop now. I will add the last two. We'll have a hard time to pick some. And again, I will leave now, I will not stop. So in a way, I will let you revote as you see the results, because we need to pick one of them, not all of them. And there are too many. So what I would like you to do is vote, but as you see other people voting, if you are the only one liking something, you may change your vote anytime. So I have some typos there, so you can ignore those. Okay, so I will vote now if you want to vote. If not, we'll go with the majority. We'll go to the Chick-fil-A website. Uh, and, okay, so this is the website. And what we can do something from them. For instance, the menu. This is like the easy way that you can think when you see a website, you know, that in the menu it will be good to have a database. Let's say this does not have a database, sure they have, but let's assume they don't have and they want us, they are just having a very fast web designer who will put all of this stuff in HTML and print it nicely on the screen each time when something changes. And that will work. That will work pretty well. But it will work even better if you have a database and you have all this stuff stored in a database. So let's look at this main page and try to understand what we need for a database. So let's start by identifying, let's say, the main entity for this page, not for the entire website, but for this page. If I show you this page, which is a menu, which will be your an entities that you will think about to create, and I will make. In a moment, I will make you so sure, we will not have a single entity, we'll have several, but let's pick from what we saw, the main entity. And I will make a word cloud because you may think that several entities and maybe more of them are good. So let's see what is going in your mind, seeing, and again, this will be a test that you can answer, and this is a page with which we will start to do a database. And I'll clear here the table so we'll have space to play with it. And while we'll do it for this particular restaurant, as you can imagine, very similar will be even if we do for other restaurants. So just looking at this page, what entity you are thinking to create? And I activated the questions for you, so please write them, you know, in capitals, singular. If there are more than one word, put underscore, so they will be considered together. Okay. I don't know how many people responded. I will wait a little bit more. So please, if you are online, participate. That's very good because you have a chance to discuss your answers, you get feedback for your answers, which is very good. So, and also you get bonus points. So please think how you will name an entity and what entity you will need looking at this description. And again, it's not a unique answer. I will wait 5 more seconds, so please write something, press enter, and submit. And I will stop only for answers. Please be more active. It's not, I want more people to answer. So let's look at the answers. So I got only two, menu and sandwich. Now, I will not pick any of them, unfortunately. And I will explain you why. Menu, if we use it as an entity, means that I want to have several menus. It's like I have a restaurant and they have two menus. They have, for instance, or three menus. They can have a breakfast one that is valid only during the breakfast. They can have a lunch one. They can have a dinner one. So, but they will be independent and they will have like their own. There will be different menus. Now here doesn't seem to be this case. Here it seems more like there is a single menu and has various things in it. So because of that, menu is not a good name. The second one that I got is sandwich. And truly, if we look at these top ones, I have sandwiches. Now, if you go down, and please do so, so you can open yourself the website and investigate. There are many things that are not sandwiches there, like, just scrolling a little bit down, you'll find things that are not sandwiches. So again, sandwich will be too restrictive. You don't want to have two entities, only one for sandwiches, or maybe you will want to, but this page does not suggest that we need two entities, one for sandwiches, one for something else. Maybe we need, after we do a more detailed analysis of our database, but just based on this one, it seems like we keep the same information about all these items. And sure, these are just part of the menu, it's not everything, but it's like a few items. But again, sandwich will be too restrictive. Now, what I might use here, I might use item. It will be good enough for me, or menu item. That's, for instance, a good generalization that will cover everything that I can have here. Or you may say menu item if you want to be even more specific, that it's an item in the menu. So both of them will make good choices. Now, as usual, I'm not taking points out if you don't answer. So let's put item because it's shorter, not necessarily better. And now let's look also based only on this page, what attributes you will put just based on this page. So don't do anything else. And decide what attributes you will like to put for your items in the menu. And sure, these are just part of it. You can see if you want to see various classifications, you can see, but these are just a few selected on this page. And we'll discuss about this selection later. Right now, I'm just looking on this page and try to identify attributes. So what I will do another question for you. And the next one will be to identify one attribute for item or menu item. Let's put it, I'll write here menu item, but on the table I put just item because it's shorter. And let's make this not a word cloud. I will make these so you'll be able to provide several answers, I think, in this format. Let me see. Yeah, you can provide several answers. So this allows you to answer with several attributes. So let's see, and I will go back here let's see what attributes you identify just based on these images. So don't go deeper. Just stay here and see what you will be able to identify as attributes. And again, we fixed item as the name of the entity. So again, attributes are reflecting a property of the entity instances. So I have various items, menu items, which are all these sandwiches, but not only sandwiches, so that there are other type of items that appears in the menu. And I want attributes, properties for these items. That's what we like to have. Okay, so try to provide your answers. Sure, you can vote on other answers. If you see one that is good, you can vote on it. If you agree with it, don't duplicate. So if you see already an answer, just vote for it. Don't duplicate the answer. And I will stop in 5 seconds. So if you have something, do now, and we'll discuss the results right now. Okay. So let's discuss a few of your results. Now, when we talk about attributes, we don't talk about specific values, specific entity instances. Here I have a sandwich which is named Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, or the deluxe sandwich, or spicy chicken sandwich. These are names for my items, for my menu items. So these are not attributes. The attribute corresponding to these phrases, the attribute is a name of the menu item. So if we want, and I saw this, somebody told name, it's a good attribute because will reflect exactly what I have in my menu item. So let me do this and write here name. Oh, so this will be a good attribute. Now, spicy, it's like part of a name. Sure, we may want to know if a menu item is spicy or not. This might be a good property of the menu item, but it's not specially organized here. So I have spicy in the name, but I don't have like a classification, and I don't know if only the menu items that have spicy in name are spicy. So I will need to look more on the website to be sure that I can have a classification if something is spicy or not. This might become an attribute if it's spicy or not. But based only on this image, I don't have that classification. I don't have, these are all the items that are spicy. I know by sure that some of them are because they have spicy name, but that's the only information that I have here. Okay, now, again, I have other classification if something is a salad or a drink. So these are kind of other type of classification, and I also see these types here at the top. But again, I don't have in the name or on this page a clear. I can say, okay, this is a sandwich because it looks like a sandwich or has sandwich in name. But for instance, for the nuggets, I don't have a clear, just based on the name, I don't know in which category they will fit. So this might become a future. These are good like ideas for future extension, like salad, drink, cheese, and so on. Sandwich item, again, it's not, if it's a sandwich or not, might be an attribute, but I will put it in the same category as future attributes if we do more research on the element. Now, calorie or calories, it seems like a good, and you say, okay, calorie, yeah, calorie, if I say, doesn't sound good. And if I put calories, I already said, okay, the attribute needs to be a singular. So what's the issue here? How I can, here I have a number on the web page, I have a number that is telling me the number of calories. So the name is this one, and I solved it. Now I have the number of calories, and how I'll name that one to be a singular? Various ways. So calorie, you may just put cal, for instance, like there, because it can be clear that it will keep the number of calories. That's one possibility. Or if you want to be very clear, you may put something like this, like number of calories, that will be good enough as a number of calories. Now, something that nobody put on the list is something that appears to all the menu items, which is a photo. It's an image of the food. And at least on this page, all items have a photo. So I would say we must add this type of information. So let's add here photo. And we'll see how we store it. We'll discuss about this in a moment. Now, this will pretty much cover what we see on this page. Now, the next big question will be what will have as primary key. So I have an entity here, no relationship here, but what I will put as primary key. So what primary key I will select from that one. So let me ask you a new question. PK for item. And I will make this a word cloud because you can, again, give a name or specify the name based on the names I picked here. And I will put in a moment that on your screen. So we have the current description of our entity, and I will delete here just to be clear what the entity looks like. So the entity is item and has all those attributes. So what will be a good name for your primary key? And this is a word cloud, so just write your name following the correct. If it's a composed name, put underscore so it will appear as a single name. And propose your primary key. And again, a primary key needs to be unique and needs to be required, not null. And also must not change. It's good not to change during the lifetime of the database, or if it's changing, to change very rarely, because if changes often, when you modify a primary key, you need to modify everywhere where it appears. And like in relationship, we use a primary key as a foreign key in another entity to create the relationship. And if you modify the primary key value, you will need to go in all entities and wherever this appears as a foreign key, you need to go there and modify it as well. So it's not good to modify the primary key. Now, give me your answer. We'll go faster. I will not stay a lot for each answer. So if you have an answer, press your answer. And I will stop. So okay. Here. Okay. Now, most of you put name, which hopefully it's good because you don't anticipate to have two different menu items called the same. So it's unique. You must have a name for any menu item. So from this perspective, it's good. Now, what about changing the name? Now, this might happen. It's not often, but it might happen in a fast food chain to change the name of a menu item. Usually, if they change the name, it will be a new menu item for them. But it might happen. And therefore, name it will be okay, but it has a semantic meaning associated that can change. For instance, they may add spicy to the name because they realize that food is spicy and they want to make aware that it's a spicy food, like we talked a little bit before. And just keeping the same item, just by changing the name to be more reflective to the item itself. So because of that, it's not the perfect way. I would say it's not the perfect primary key. So in this case, what will be better is to create a surrogate primary key, and usually we don't put it down here. And this can be a code, a number, an ID, whatever you want. I will put ID here, but you can name it as you want. And sure, this will be primary key. And as a rule, we generally write this one first. So it's not the last one that is put on the screen. It's the first one in the list of attributes, but I will not delete and rewrite everything. Or maybe I will do very fast. Just because it's better to have it right, I don't want to confuse you. Okay. And I will start with the ID, which is a primary key, and then I will have the name, number of calories, and photo. And what we need to do next is to describe a little bit all these attributes. And I will describe them first, and then I will just put the characteristics that we want to keep on the diagram. So let's start with unique. Which attributes are unique, and I will create a poll in a moment. I'm not sure if you can select multiple answers. I hope so. If not, let me know. Right. Oh, yes, it's working. Uh, yes. So I'm just going to clear this one. Just 1 second. It will go faster for the next one. Okay, good. So mm, so this is the question. You need to pick all the unique uh, you can pick all the unique attributes and you are faster than me. I stopped the share, but a few of you already answered. So pick all the unique attributes. If you haven't picked one, you can pick now. Okay. And pick now, or I will stop, I will deactivate the answers. And let's see what the answers are. So most of you picked ID, which is true. It's a primary key, must be unique. Then a few of you picked name. Now we just discussed that the name must be unique because it's a menu item. You don't want to confuse customers to have two menu items with the same name. So I will put this one as being unique. I will put a UQ here, like unique. Now, it's good that nobody put the number of calories because I can have two menu items with the same number of calories. There is no reason. Why not? Even if maybe on the page that you saw there are no such things, in principle you can have that. And then the photo also is good because most likely we'll save it as a URL, or you can save it as a photo, but it's less likely. Usually you save it as a URL to an address in a folder, in a post-it folder with all the images. And because of that, you don't want to have two different menu items with the same photo. It will not look professional for your website. But might not be. So this you need to discuss with the customer. For instance, you may have a default photo for something that does not have a photo, and you will link to a no photo image if you don't have a photo for a menu item. So this is disputable. Might be or might not be unique, but it's not wrong. I'll put it here unique for now. And let's do the same for your required. So we look at the unique. Now I want to look at required. And this will go much faster now because I did the unique. So let's answer if which attributes are required. And again, we usually write NN for required on the diagrams, and N comes from not null. Null is the default value in a database when you don't know if something, you don't know the value, it's by default null, means there is no value there. And not null means I must have a value. So that's why it means it's required, because I must have a value. And usually we mark this with NN. Now in Workbench, you will see different notation. I also want to show you how you sketch by hand. Not only using Workbench, because many times you do that when you create a database. You'll first sketch your database by hand. So let's see the answers. I will stop now, so please pick your answers. Okay, and start sharing my screen. Okay, so let's see, required. For now, I would say, okay, primary key must be required. So very few of you selected, but it's a primary key always must be required. Otherwise, it's not primary key. So ID must be required. Name, sure, I must have a name. So I'll put an N here because I also must have a name for any menu item. Otherwise, then most of you got it right. It seems like here doesn't allow you to put several responses, which is strange. I should allow you to do that. Number of calories again, it's good. Some items may not have the number of calories, you may not know it, but on the list that I provided you, all of them have. So this you need to clarify with the customer if always you know the number of calories, but let's say, because in some states now you are forced to put on everything number of calories, let's assume we have it. And the photo again, must or may not be required. I will consider it here required because if you design a good website, you need to be sure always you have a photo. So now the other properties, if it's a simple or composite attribute, here it's a simple one, clearly all of them. Maybe photo because it's a URL, if we keep it as a URL, it will not be a simple one, but we'll keep it as such because we don't want to go in details how the URL is formed. So we'll keep it as a single attribute, but we may consider it as a composite one. The name is not composite because even if it has several words, there is no template, there is no pattern related to it. And now if we look at being single value or multi-value attributes, sure, for the photo, you may say I can have several photos for an attribute, but you show only one on the screen, at least in the screen that we saw here. Sometimes you have rotating photos and then you have a list of photos, but here is not the case. So I will assume that here we have a single photo, so it's a single value attribute. So the other ones are identical for all, so we'll not go in those details. Now, what I want to do is to go a little bit deeper and look at properties. Let's see, we have various types, and some of you identify that. I have various types of menu items, and like item type. I can have a breakfast item, I can have an entree, a salad, a side, kids meal, treat. Sure, I have these main page items that appears on the main page and are not all of them, and drinks and so on. So there are various items and they have a given type. Now, for the type, I may say we have two options. And catering is different, so it's not a type, it's another way to order. So that one we will discuss in a separate way. So if we look here for the type, we can imagine two different options to represent the type. First, and the simplest one, you may say, okay, let's make it an attribute. And this will work well if each menu item will appear only in one place. So if a menu item will appear in a single place, then I can say I have a single value, which will be the type, item type, and that can be one of these words, breakfast, entrance, salad, and so on. But let's look at fruit cup. Fruit cup appears in breakfast, and if we look inside, you see the same item appears in two places. So if I want to keep fruit cup, the type of menu item as an attribute, it will become a multi-value attribute. And we don't like multi-value attributes. Why we don't like multi-value attributes is because a multi-value attribute, if I want to search based on it, I will need to search in a text. I don't have a way to put two values in a single. If you have a table, you cannot put two different values in the same set. You need to put them like with comma or something. You need to put a text containing those two values, and then searches are much harder to do. I simplify a little bit the explanation, but this is the idea why you cannot have them multi-value attributes easily in a SQL database. Now, because it's a multi-value attribute, what we use for a multi-value attribute is a relationship. So imagine that we create the type of item as another attribute. So let's create item type as another attribute, and then see what kind of relationship. So first of all, the item type, I will not go through all the description with you, but the item type needs to have a name, like breakfast, entrance, salads, sides, and so on. So the type needs to have a name for that type. And sure, we need an ID. Again, the name may change, and we don't want to change everywhere. So it's the same logic. I will keep here primary key and ID, and I will put a name. Do we need something else for an item type? I don't know, maybe. At this point, I don't see anything else. So at this point, we can stay with these two. And if we want to describe them, I will put here unique and not null or required for the name. So we'll have those there. Now, what I'm interested in is to determine the relationship between item and item type. What kind of relationship I have, and I will do that. In a moment. Okay. Okay, and so we have the relation between item and item type. We want to see the relationship between them, and I will activate. No, first I need to. Oh, it's the answer. So let's see what relation, what type of relationship do you think is between item and item type? Again, it's a pick one type of question, so try to answer fast. Put the two questions. If I have one item, how many types can have? And you get what you need to put here. If I have one item type, how many items I can have of the type, and you get what you need to put here. Put those two questions and then decide on the type. Okay, so pick something. I will deactivate. And let's share again. So let's put the two questions. If I have an item type like breakfast, how many items will be in the breakfast menu? So let's look. In the breakfast menu, I have many items. So I need to put a many here. Now, if I took an item like fruit cup, in how many types fruit cup will appear in? And we already saw that it's in breakfast and sides. So at least two. So being at least two, I need to put a many here as well. So what I got a many to many. So because I got a many to many, and I have one person answering correctly this question, again, try to exercise this as much as you can. Determining the type is the most essential part in all the designs. So read about types, look at a lot of examples, do exercises, because that's the most important type. That's the most important element in the design. If you get the type wrong for a relationship, everything will be wrong in your design. Now, because I have a many to many, we don't easily represent many to manys in a database. Because of that, what we need to do is to have a kind of bridge between them. And here's the bridge. I'll put it down. It's not easy to name it. So what I will do, I will do a trick here. I will put here food type, and I will put here like bridge item type, which is fine to rename, to do these renames in your design, and this will show you an easy way to name a bridge by joining the two names of the entities that participate in the relationship. So this is a type of the item. So that's why it's much more of a given item. And here food type is the general type that I will have. And sure, here I will need to have the item ID and the type ID. And both of them will be primary keys and foreign keys. And being a bridge, let me show you the screen. Okay. Being a bridge, what we have are two, so it's a many-to-many relationship, we'll break it into one-to-many relationships. And how this will look, we'll have strong relationships. Why? Because the primary key of item appears as a primary key of the bridge. So that's why it's strong. We make it as a strong line here. It's a continuous line. And we'll have one item appears in many associations, may appear in many associations. Now, I will say that for an item type, I must have an item, so item is mandatory. And also, if I have an item, must be at least of appear in one of the types, because it doesn't appear in any, it will not be part of my menu. So I'll put here also mandatory, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Now, and this will be a one-to-many item. And here I can say it has type, item type, and from food type, again, I'll have a one-to-many, because an item type will be related to a single food type, and a food type will appear in several item types. So it's a one-to-many. And let's look at participation now. It's strong, again, because the type ID appears as a foreign key and primary key in the item type. So I cannot have an item type without a food type, corresponding food type, because I must have here a value, it's required. And an item type must have a food type specified. A food type, like all these food types that we identified, must have some items. It will not be normal to click on a food type like breakfast and see nothing. Your website will fail. So just to be sure that the website is good, we can mark these as required. So we still need to put a name to our relationship. So food type, we generally go from one to many when we read. So we have the type contains, I'll put here, contains, or contains item. If we have several contains, we can specialize to contains item, item type. So this clarifies the relationship with let's look what we succeeded to do. So I will show you in a moment what part of the website we succeeded to do. Basically what we did up to now was to have these types like breakfast, entree, salad, main menu, image or main page or home, which will be the ones that appear here at the top, like a selection of them. So these are the types. Then for each of them, I have items. And item type, it's the association between these types and the corresponding item. So that's all that we did up to now. Let's click on one of them and see what other information we have, and discuss what we need in addition to represent that information. We will not put a lot of information, but let's discuss, for instance, extras. And how that will work. Or let me see if something is easier. No. Okay, so let's discuss these extras or includes. One of them. They are somehow related because both of them, includes and extras, are related to some ingredients. So as you can see, I have here various ingredients that can be either included, like here, or they may appear as extras. So how we will deal with that? What do you think we'll need to do? I have a question. which is if we switch the order, and it's a one-to-many both times, it's end-to-end. So end-to-end is represented by two one-to-M relationships, and we generally read the relationship from parent to child. So when we give the name, we don't read it from many to one. We can say it's a many to one from item type to food type, but generally when we write it by convention, we write direct relationship, which is from one to many. That's how we read them. So from parent, item has type, item type. Food type contains item type. That's how many people are writing them. Now, when you do this in Workbench, basically it's the second name, the direct relationship. Some people read them the other way around. I don't care as long as you are consistent. So put either the direct or the inverse. If you put the direct, like I did, you will have many to many decomposed into one to many. So I have one many, two, one many relationship are representing a many to many relationship. Morgan, does this clarify your question? Okay, so if you didn't understood, let me know and I will explain it again. That's very important. So it's very important when you have a many to many, you always want to create these two one to many when you represent the many to many. So it's a very important concept, and we cannot have in MySQL Workbench, it will not allow you to put a many to many. If you try to put it, it will automatically break it into one to many. Now, coming back to the current part, we have all these ingredients, I would say, or parts, or how you want to name, and they can be included or excluded to your order. And sure, this is not ordering here, is just informing you what is included and which are the extras. So what we need will be clearly another entity for these things that I don't want to use a name because then I will suggest you what name to put there, but we need another entity for include and extract. And let's see how you will name them. So I will do a very fast and again, give a name only. So don't, so this is the question. It's a word cloud, so give a single name. And we'll see which name will be the most used. So try to think, I have these includes and the extras, as you can see, many of them, how I can, what will be an entity? How you will name an entity that will store these things? So for these things, what will be a good entity used to store them? As I told you, we have also here not only a science to create a good design, but it's also an art. You need to invent name, you need to try to use customer names. Here we don't have a lot of customer information, how they name these things. So you need to imagine how you want to name them. Okay, so give me what you have. Okay, so let's resume the share and see what we got. We got extra or toppings. Toppings, it's wrong because it's plural, but the name will be better in my opinion. So extra, why? Because why I'll not go with extra? Because I already have some things that are included, and I want, you know, pickles, for instance, are used both in include and in extras. And you can imagine that in some of them, things can be included or not. So include an extra more it's reflecting the relationship between my item and these things. So I will prefer to go with topping, but not the plural, the singular. Let's put topping the singular here. And again, I will do a little bit of work myself, explaining it to you for toppings. So let's see what we'll store about the topping. And as you can see, we can have several things and think about these toppings, and you can look on the page if you want. They can be included or they can need to be added as an extra. Now, let's put here topping. Put here topping. And we'll have again a primary key, which will be an ID. Same reason like before, I prefer to put a surrogate primary key for it. Then I'll have the name of the topping. And we didn't discuss the domain and type. Sure, we can do that, and maybe we'll do that, but it's not urgent. So the name we can consider it as unique and required. Then for the toppings, I also have the number of calories. And when we add them extra, we may have a price. Now, the main question is, if that price is the same always when I add some item as extra, or for some items it's a price, for others it's a different price, and I don't know that. So we can investigate that. Sure, you can always ask the customer, and they will know that I don't know how it is, but that's a customer decision. What we can do, I can look, let's look at lettuce, it's 20 cents. And I can look at a different sandwich and see if lettuce is the same. It's the same amount. So it seems that it's likely to have the same price always for an extra. So always an extra to have the same price, which is, possible. So I will put price here. I will discuss what happens if there are different prices when I add something to different items. But for now, let's assume I have the same price always when I add the topping. That price can be zero, so make it zero, but still I need to have that price. So I will make this one not null. Sure, it's not unique because I can have the same price for various toppings. Now, the next difficult question will be, what's the relationship between item and toppings? And moreover, here I have kind of two relationships that we need to discuss, and we'll discuss them in a moment. So let me do a new duplicate this one. So we will create here item as extra topic as a relationship. So this will be the question that I want to put. And now I would like to you to answer. Let's identify what type of relationship I have between the item and the topping. I said item and extra topping. So what type of relationship I have there? And again, try to put the two questions. I will not put you, but you look at one of the items, see how many can be for that one and the other way around. And feel free to go on the website. So I haven't, but feel free to go on the website and check your intuition. Okay, so get ready to finish. And your answers are the following. Now, to check your answers, we will put the two questions, and I will show you how we put the questions and how we'll answer. So we will have item as extra topping. So if I look at one topping, in how many items can appear? And we already show that, for instance, lettuce can appear in several sandwiches. So one topping like lettuce may appear in several items. So here I will have a menu. Now, if you look on one of the sandwiches, how many extras I can have? And if you look, you'll see that there are a list of them. So there are again many. So again, we have a many-to-many relationship, which again will require us to create a bridge. We'll need to create a bridge and have two one-to-many relationships to represent the relation between item and topic. So let's do that. And for the sake of time, I will do that for you. So how we name it, I will say here extra topping because that's what we wanted to. Yeah, extra. So I will name it this one extra topping with the underscore between. And here again, I need to put the item ID and the topping ID. And both of them are primary keys and foreign keys. So both of them will be PK and foreign keys. So PK here doesn't mean that each of them is a PK. No, an entity has a single primary key. The fact that I have PK to both of them means that I have a composite primary key formed by both of them. So that's what PK means. They are part of the PK of the primary key, not that I have two primary keys. Be careful. Never you can have two primary keys. Only you can have only one primary key, but can be a composite one, like in this case, and then I put PK for each line. And sure, it's pointing here as well. So now let's look at the relationship, and this will be pretty much the same structure, two one-to-manys, and sure, a topping will appear in several such extra toppings, and an item will appear in several such extra items. Now, can I have a topping that is never an extra topping? Maybe. For instance, I don't know. Let's see if the normal bun, the white bun, appears. Yeah, also, no, doesn't appear. Doesn't appear in the extra. So maybe the default one, white bun, always appear as include and never appear as an extra. So because of that, let's assume that the case I will have here optional, because I can have a topping that is not an extra. Always it's a default, appears in include, it appears. But an extra topping will always require a topping, because must be part here, item ID, topping ID is part of its primary key. Now, an item does have always extras? Probably not. So let's look, if we want to see that, we need to look at something that you don't anticipate to have extras. So I will go and try to look at drink, for instance. That's after it will work my website. Let me see what's happening here. My internet is not Amazon. Now, for some reason, my internet doesn't seem to work. I don't know why. Let me check. Let me move on my phone very fast so I recover my internet. Hopefully you hear me. If you hear me, press something in. Write something in the chat, just to be sure that you are hearing me. So if you hear me, write something in the chat. Anything? Hello? Do you hear me? Okay. Okay, good. So it seems like what's the problem with internet for, I don't know if you heard it was a break in the communication or something, but I asked it several times until I got the answer. So what's happening with the internet? Let's come back. So what I'm discussing now is it's if I have an item, if always an item has extra toppings. And I said, okay, let's look at some drinks. So go on the drinks, pick a drink, and see if has extra toppings. Yeah, you can have some extra toppings there as well. And I realized that we forgot something related to toppings. And we'll add it in a moment. But let's look if there is any kind of thing that doesn't have extra toppings. Not right now. So maybe everything has extra toppings. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, I found one that doesn't have brownie, does not have extra toppings. So there are items who don't have extra toppings. Sure, I did some research in their website, but I wanted to be sure. So I have items that don't have extra toppings, but an extra topping must have one item. So you see here, both of them are optional because I can have toppings that are never used as extra toppings, and I can have items that don't have extra toppings. For this reason, here the participation of extra topping is optional. And topping item has extra topping. Topping is extra of extra topping or of item. So what I try is the name of the relationship to still be different on my diagram, because if you want to talk about a relationship and the names are different, it's much easier to consider them, but not to make them too long as well. Now, something else that I had, and let me share my screen now. So something else that I have for this one, instead of extras, but it's pretty much the same. It's what it what includes by default, and which it's also important. So it's very similar because I will have again a relationship between item and topping, but now I want to reflect that it's including something. So let's see what this will change in our analysis. So what I will do, I will duplicate the previous question. And sure, here, instead of has extra, I will put includes something. And first thing that we want to see is the type. And answer related to the type, that's important, as I said. Determining the type, it's probably the hardest decision you need to take. The other ones, even if you get them wrong, it will not be so critical. It will don't change the structure much of the structure of your diagram. But if you get the type wrong, that will be pretty bad. So again, we had extra topping. Now we want to put what are the included toppings, and we want to see how we will change the design. And try to pick something I don't have a lot of responses yet, so only 4 responses. So try to pick some answer. Okay, 5 responses. We are increasing. So pick one of the answers, and we'll discuss it in a moment. So I'm stopping now your phone. Okay. So these are your answers, and the good news is that now most of you got it right, because it's indeed a many-to-many. And I know that we had only many-to-manys today. This was a chance. I didn't plan for it, but this is how our website was designed, and which is good because, again, many-to-many probably are the hardest type of relationship because they involve this additional bridge. So they involve more work. So having 3 many-to-many, we did a lot of extra work, and hopefully now it's becoming more and more clear how to do many-to-many. And I am happy that most of you got it right. Now let's go back to our design and see how we add in our design these many-to-many. And something that I forgot to do was that each topping also has a photo. For most of the toppings have a photo. Some toppings don't. And because some don't, and I checked that, and I'm sure, because I saw that, I will not make this required. I will just leave it as attribute. And we may make unique, but not necessary. Now, if we look at what is included, we may create a new entity here that will be included. Something that I forgot to discuss, and I said I will discuss when we do the diagram. What is the price is not always for a topping, but it depends in which item I add a topping, the price will change. Which will not be a good, idea for the restaurant, because it doesn't make sense to change the price based on the item. Looks a little bit fishy, so it's better to keep it here. But let's say I have a fishy restaurant that doesn't change the price of the topping depending to what item you add the topping. In that case, the price will be stored here in the extra toppings. So in that case, if it will change based on how it's assigned, will need to be stored in the extra topic. In our case, we said we will keep it in the topic. So we'll have now included topping. So the topping that comes with my item. And again, I have these two item ID and topping ID. And these will represent, both of them will be primary key and foreign key. And sure, it's a many-to-many relationship, so I will have two one-to-many relationships linking them. And very similar with the above. Now, is the topic, are all topics already included in the item? No. So here it's clear, optional. Here must be mandatory, because if I never include topping, might be one of my topics. So I must have there. Now, if I haven't included topic, I must have an item for it, but an item may not have specified included topic. So I may have items that do not specify any included topping, and brownie is one of them. So I found at least one, so I'm confident I can do that. And here I can have name of the relationship is included, topping is included, and here I can have includes. So some names to differentiate between them. And this, as you can see, it's a small diagram, and we just touch a little bit of what is described on the website. Now, I will move now to show you something else and to make you, you need to take a design decision. So let's move to see again my screen. And here, if you go to nutrition information for any of the item, you will land on this page where you can see for each item, you will have some properties like serving size, calories, fat, saturated fat, trans fat, sugar, protein, and so on. And this will be for all your topics. Now, they say here allergens. I don't see any allergen for some reasons. So I don't know why they say allergens, because I don't see any allergens specified. Maybe they are, oh, here, it's another table. Okay, so it's another table with allergens. So let's stay at nutrition for now. So this is nutrition. And these are all the information about nutrition. Now, this is a table, and I have an item, and I have a lot of attributes. So these are all attributes because they are just numbers that clarify what, for each menu item, for each item, what properties it has. So looks like attributes for my item. So I already have an entity for this item. So look like just I need to add attributes to my entity. And now I will have two design decisions. And what I like you to do is to tell me which one you will take. And put, okay, so one options, and I'll make this multiple choice, nutrition. So one option is to add attributes to the entity item for nutrition information. The other decision is to create a new entity, nutrition, with the nutrition information. And sure, you need to decide which one of these you will take. So you have two choices, and you need to pick one. So again, these are Use your intuition. If you don't need to stay a lot to think about it. You just click on one and use your intuition. Okay, so I have 4 responses. Respond now, or you will lose the opportunity. Good. So let's discuss which decision you will take. Now, I will take your decision because this is, in my opinion, the best in this situation. If we have only 1 or 2 attributes to add, then I'll probably just add those attributes to my item. Because I'll just add 2 attributes doesn't mean much. It will not be a lot of, it will not complicate the entity too much. Now, nutrition seems to be like an independent table here. It's true, it's for an item. So theoretically, all of these are attributes of the item. So it's not wrong to add them as attributes here. But it will make this table very complex. It will make my item table very complex. And with something that is very specific and not always needed. I would say, how many times when you go to a fast food, you'll go on nutrition and look at nutrition? Most of us never. So sure, if you want to stay in the fast food and order something. So that's why we will be like rarely used. So why to make my table very ugly if I don't need to? So not necessarily a better design decision, but not more efficient, necessarily more efficient, but design decisions that will create a more nice design will be to take the nutrition and put in a different table and keep it there. Now, creating the nutrition as a different table, I automatically created a relationship now between item and nutrition. So until I take the nutrition and make a different table, what I would like you to do is to tell me about this relationship that I just created. And this will be okay. So while I draw the, you answer these ones, the type for item has nutrition, why I will draw the nutrition here, for instance. And I will not do it completely, but at least partially. And Okay, so let's see your answers. I have 4 answers. To answer now, or you lose a chance. Okay, so the majority got it right. So let's see. An item will appear on a single line in the nutrition information. So an item will appear only once. Now, nutrition information corresponds to a single item. So if I take an item, I will have a single nutrition information about it. So I'll put a 1 here. If I take the nutrition information and look, it corresponds to a single item. So this is a one-to-one relationship. So to answer one-to-one, it's a good answer. Now, when you have a one-to-one, one decision that you need to take is who is the parent, who is the child. And generally, the parent needs to be the most important entity. In our case, item will be the parent, why, and nutrition will be the child. And why this is important? Because in nutrition, I will keep the item ID as a foreign key. It will be primary key and foreign key, and this is why it will be a child. Now, does an item always have a nutrition information? Let's say yes. And if I have a nutrition information, must correspond to an item. And the name here I put has nutrition information or something like that. Now this is a strong again because the item ID appears as a primary key, as a foreign key, and the primary key for the child. So that's why this one is strong. Today we had only strong relationships, which usually don't happen. Usually they are rare, but that's also important we exercise this with them. Now, something that I haven't done, if you look at the table and you look at my entities here, so let me show you the table. You can see in the table you have calories, right? You have calories here, second column, third column. And if you look on the table, on the design that I created, on the design, I don't have calories in nutrition. I have them in the item. In the design, we generally don't duplicate data. Now, why? Because if we duplicate, then we need to maintain the same data in 2 places. And these may create data anomalies. And these data anomalies are bad because I may modify in one place, forget to modify in the other place, and I get in my database 2 different values for the same attribute, which will be very bad. So that's why we don't, I will not put here number of calories, even if I have number of calories in that table of nutrition. Number of calories we already stored here, and I will not move them from here. Why I will not move them from here? Because in many places where I show the item, I want to have this total number of calories to be shown. So if I will move them from here, always I will need to access the nutrition information to get that value. So I prefer to keep them in the main entity because I need to show them often. I will not put, even if they are part of the nutrition, I will not put them here because when I want to show the nutrition, I will have the item, I will have the nutrition anyhow linked, and I will need both of them in order to show the nutrition. So I'll have both of them in that case. So that's why we keep them in the item, even if theoretically they will be part of the nutrition information. But from a design perspective, we keep them in the item because they are more used, as you can see on the website, with the item, not with they are using the nutrition. But when I show nutrition, I anyhow need the item to take the name, to take maybe the photo or other information about the item. Okay, so this is pretty much what I wanted to do. And as you saw, we created now a simple database with 7 entities, and something like that you will have for your homework. Now, need to be careful. You need to do all of these types and be sure not all of them have the same homework. Some of them will have many to many, more or less, one to many, one to one. There are many types of relationship in your homework. Read the specifications. I make it very clearly in the specification what type of relationship you need to do. So read the specification and follow them to get the right type. But this exercise was useful because we took a new problem and we succeeded to model it based on the website showing that information and created a database diagram. Now, this will work clearly with one of fast food chain, but may easily be adapted to others. So many other places I'll have a similar diagram. Now, what will be different, for instance, extract includes, this might be different, so you cannot assume you'll have the same diagram if you take a different chain. Before you stop, if you have any questions, so related to what we presented here, related to the module which grace period ends today, module D2, or any other question. So if you have a question, please write wait or something short in the chat, so I know that you are preparing your question. And if nobody has questions, I wish you a good week. Sure, you will have module D3. We'll also post module D4. It's an intensive course. You don't have 1 week for each module. And we will also post the project. The project needs to start after you do D3, because otherwise you will not be able to do D3. So I have them posted in the same time initially, but then I realized, no, you need to do D3 for the project to start. So it will start a little bit later, and I don't want anybody to jump in the project because the project is like more complex than D3. So if you haven't done D3, it's hard to jump in the project. That's why I decided to let it a little bit later, to start a little bit later, just to be sure that you do D3. And I will add now big at the beginning of the project that you need first to submit all your D3 homework before you start the project, because otherwise it will not be easy. Now, the due date for the project is long, like 2 periods you have for it. So don't worry, you have more time to do it. So when I did the schedule, I didn't realize that D3 it's not done when the project starts. Any other questions, issues? If not, I wish you a good week and see you on Thursday.